I know a lot of people think of immigration lawyer like pro bono, but we rarely talk about pro bono. But here we have somebody who's actually a true pro bono attorney. And I don't mean like, oh, she's, not a good attorney, so she's volunteering her time. A lot of large firms just send, their associate first year to do pro bono work. That's not what we're talking about. I'm talking about people who dedicate their life and building a career to it. She is the National AILA Liaison for Pro Bono. She's the Southern California Liaison for Pro Bono. In her corporate firm, she runs the pro bono department.
Way too many things.
Way too many things. Why do you do pro bono?
I love pro bono, but I think more so now than ever. There's just so much going on. There's no shortage of a need, and there's just so many different ways that we can all plug in. It can be as simple as attending like a clinic for a few hours to help someone with a work authorization renewal. Maybe there's like a need for a quick interpretation or a quick translation, so you can help in many different ways.
We all know we can volunteer our time, but how do you build a life around pro bono? What is AILA National Pro Bono Liaison doing? What is SoCal AILA Liaison Pro Bono doing?
National Pro Bono Week is a thing. It's where pro bono is recognized across the nation, and not just for immigration. But this year was the first year where AILA, the National Committee, and the AILA staff really put together a program. So every day of the National Pro Bono Week, we had some out-facing pro bono, either publication, video, roundtable, information to the community as far as like, here's all the great things that people are doing, and here's how you can get involved. So part of what we do at the local level as an AILA liaison is we work within our chapters to share the information about different volunteer activities, different pro bono needs in the community, also different resources. We share that, and then we also share what the National Committee does. So every year there's a AILA Citizenship Day where AILA chapters across the country are doing different citizenship clinics, workshops, helping people for free with their citizenship applications. That happens in September. Every year at the annual conference, hopefully you're all going, we do a clinic of some sort, a pro bono clinic. So usually that's the Saturday of the annual conference. We work with a local chapter, local nonprofits to determine what the community needs are, and as AILA attorneys, we host an event there.
So there's so much need everywhere, there's so much resources everywhere. Why would somebody choose to do a pro bono as more so as a career, not just like 10% of their job is pro bono? What's your take?
When I first started out, there was something about helping people who really could not afford it. I've had the privilege of growing up in circumstances where I was always cared for, then knowing people who didn't have those basic needs, especially immigrants, meeting immigrants who had to flee their home countries as a child. It really did have a particular impact on me, and I think feeling the reward of being able to provide some type of kindness, that's why, right? It's something that I have a skill set and I can provide this kindness with a skill set that I have.
What is a struggle? What is something that keeps you up at night, the monster that you wish you could get rid of, but maybe it's part and parcel with the pro bono lifestyle?
You are talking to people about very traumatizing facts, traumatizing incidences in their lives, but we're not therapists. And so having to balance re-traumatizing someone for the sake of building a strong legal case, that is hard, especially now as there's so much that's coming at us. Sometimes, you strip away perhaps financial resources, and so people don't have finances. So it's kind of balancing, you're not a social services provider, but there's so much that might be happening in your clients' lives.
Can you say a little bit more about how you handle that? Because I'm sure it must be really difficult. And we've had a psychologist talk about the firm, and yeah, you're getting this secondary trauma too, but I haven't heard about the re-traumatizing side, which is super.
Yeah, so I think the re-traumatizing, that is something that I particularly struggle with. I do like to have that included in client conversations, right? Letting them know, hey, this is why I'm going to be asking you these questions. It might have this other impact on you. Let's talk about different support services or what you need before we maybe even go into the facts. So it's a little bit of rapport building, but I struggle with that. I feel bad for having to ask some of these things, but it's the only way we can do our jobs. And at the end of the day, if we're able to successfully do our jobs and have a case win, then hopefully the client's life becomes more stable and they are able to have work authorization and be able to have a job to then provide for themselves and other services that they need, and so on and so forth. But I deal with my own stress by exercising a lot and dancing a lot.
I'm so inspired and in awe, because my question, if you remember, is what is something that's really hard for your practice as a pro bono attorney. And the thing that she keeps on talking about is the fact that when doing these type of cases, it makes the client's case harder or emotionally. She's not talking about herself, she's always going back to the client. Again, a different attorney here would have said something completely different. But her main concern goes back to the client. It's in awe of how empathetic you are, that you care for your clients, and that's my next question. How do you stay this way?
It's in me, it's my DNA, it's my heart, it's my soul, and I enjoy it. I enjoy being able to help where I can. So I think it would be a lot harder to do what I do if I didn't.
What would you say to, let's say, a partner? They love the idea of like helping people, but how does this make money?
Pro bono, not for the sake of making money, right? But I think there are a lot of benefits to pro bono if you're interested in a new area of law. It can help you build skills. If you haven't yet been to a trial and you want to do a trial, you want to work on direct examination, practicing and preparing a client for cross-examination. And it's a great way to build relationships, not just relationships with your client, but relationships with your community, relationships with organizations, relationships with schools, and a good way to be involved. And I think that's one of the great things through AILA as well. Being part of the committee, I've met so many people that maybe across the country who I would not have met otherwise. I'm able to engage with different community members. So there are many benefits to pro bono.